All right, welcome to the Alternative Football Panel. I'm your host this week, XFL Mike G, and with me, as always, our producer Rick 8-Bit, Royce, aka Viking Wax Press, and a special panelist we haven't seen in a minute, Tom Fox. How's it going, guys?
Great.
Pretty good.
All right, we have some exciting news. We're going to break down what's going on in the European leagues and American football over there. We're going to announce. We're going to go through our champion winners for the indoor leagues, the Arena Football and the Indoor Football League. And we're going to talk some CFL, UFL, and a little bit of NFL business. All right, guys. It's been a couple of weeks. Anything surprising, shocking going on for you guys? No, we're just getting ready.
Yeah,
the preseason's been good. As a Ravens fan, I like Reed and as a Raven, and they're promoting his story very well, which I like.
Definitely, the UFL players being in the NFL preseason makes it a little bit more interesting for me to watch. I don't know. I think the NFL preseason games have gotten a little bit better, and it might be due to having these players come in already in game shape, ready to go, have been practicing for a minute. What are your opinions on that, guys, before we move on?
I think so. I mean, I know the Hall of Fame game, as we all know, is arguably the best football game played in the last year somehow. So, that was a good one. I know my Panthers sucked this past weekend, but it is what it is.
But was that them sucking or the Bills being good?
Our offense had our starters played for 3 drives, and they got this many first downs.
Ouch.
Yeah, it was bad. That's pretty bad.
All right, we're going to jump into the Euro Leagues. We're going to start off with the EFA Championship game with the Ravens and the Nordiques. They both won their games. The first game was a little bit closer for the Ravens. 52-33, they advanced to the championship game against the Nordic Storm. The Nordic Storm put up 45. Initially, the opponents had a first quarter that was kind of on and off, and they struggled. They put 2 field goals on the board in the first quarter, and after that, they weren't able to do anything. But they'll be meeting Raven and the Storm will be in the championship game for the EFA. Unfortunately, our panelist that regularly covers those the Euro Leagues was not available this week. John is gearing up for his season and getting back to school. So I'm going to do as best I can and get you guys to help me out, cover some of these Euro Leagues before we jump into the fun stuff, because I know the fun stuff that we're all waiting for is going to be the UFL news and the UFL to NFL signings. Any thoughts? Anybody catch any of this? I know you got to get up pretty early in the morning to catch some of these games. Anybody?
I just caught some highlights on X, and I got to say, if you follow either one of these leagues, the EFA or the AFLE on X, you get some good highlights. So I recommend that. And then YouTube as well. Follow them on YouTube. You can catch some good highlights. And that's kind of what I've seen, hit and miss, but haven't seen a full game yet. But I know that the Storm is pretty dominant, but then the Ravens are doing good too. So that should be a good championship game right there. They've had a more balanced league than the other league. The FLE, when we get there, you can see the difference between the two leagues. This one has a lot more balance. Even though that the Storm kind of crushed the Musketeers, the overall league is more balanced. So here we go. So this is the AFLE, and they have a lot more of a lopsided league. The AFLE had week 11 of the regular season. The good teams continue to dominate the lesser teams in a very one-sided league there. And it looks like the Vikings and the Fire are probably going to meet again in the championship. They've been one of those 2 teams have been in the championship, I believe, the last 3 years in Europe. So not shocked to see them at the top again. So pretty cool stuff. The Rush Love Panthers are doing pretty good too, and then so are the Berlin Thunder is the other team that won last week. So looks like some pretty cool matchups going into the playoffs.
Yeah, and if you're not familiar with some of these teams, some of them might sound familiar to you. The Rhine Fire is left over from the World League. The London Warriors seem to be making noise and putting some financial backing behind their team. The Vienna Vikings, I know as a Vikings fan, Royce, is that your team over there?
Well, yes, they're my team in the AFLE, and then I like the Paris Musketeers in the other league in Europe. So, but both are really good overall. Actually, Musketeers are having an off year, but yeah, the Vikings for sure. I'm a big Vikings guy. So yeah, Kellywood.
And a name,
there, Kellywood. Yeah,
yeah, and a name that Houston fans will recognize, Kenji Bahar, who had a solid first season with the Gamblers back in the USFL, is now over in Rhine in Germany. He seems to be doing well. I haven't heard too much about him over there, but thank you, Callie, for that comment. And I think the next slide, because they're heading towards the end of their season, they're gearing up towards the playoffs here. And again, it's exciting football. It is available on YouTube, but you're going to have to get up early if you want to watch it live. If we can go on to the potential playoff brackets for them.
Yeah, this one, I think the Vikings are going to take it over the London team, the London Warriors. They are having a kind of surprising year for their first year. They've done pretty good, but overall they're kind of a mismatch against the Vikings because the Vikings are so dominant. That other game, though, is going to be pretty epic. The Rush Love Panthers against the Rhine Fire. I'm guessing Ryan is going to win, but still, that should be a good matchup.
Yeah, this nostalgia in me is pulling for the Rhine Fire, even though I do not know anything about them other than Kenji Bahar being over there.
Yeah. They've got great helmets, man. Even they had awesome helmets in the 90s, and they've continued that, and they have gone through a couple iterations, but they have really, really cool helmets with the fire flowing back, so it's pretty cool stuff.
All right. And we quickly went over the Euro leagues just because we'll get into them a little bit more as the season goes on when it starts getting towards their championship, because there's a lot to cover, believe it or not, in the off season. And I know everybody's waiting for that UFL, but we'll get there. We're going to cover some indoor leagues and the arena leagues now. This is a graphic that was put up by Sam Shady, Shady Sports Network, and it just shows all the indoor and arena league champions here. Guys, anybody that you're surprised about or that you enjoyed their season? Personally, I like the Rattlers and what they did, beating Green Bay and winning the IFL champion. There's a lot of good names and a lot of good teams out here. And you guys want to talk about them real quick?
Yeah, I'll go with the Rattlers. I mean, I grew up watching arena football, and they're a team that, them, the Sabertooths, you remember them for a while. So yeah. The fact that to grow up with them and still see them functioning and everything. Granted, it's a different league. It's still nice though to see that continuing and everything. And I like the Goats in the AL. I think that I'm starting to get into that league. I heard I might get a team close to my house soon. Yeah. We got some open arenas in the Connecticut area, so I'm hoping that we could branch out, get some teams, and then we could really enjoy a lot better.
I was a fan of the AF1 this season. Was awesome to watch, and the Cats pulled it off in the very last minute in that game for their championship last weekend. So that was a fun league for me to get into, and I was pulling for the Arsenal actually, but they ended up losing to the Firebirds the week before. So the Firebirds Cats game was epic championship game, one of the best I've ever seen. Outside of last year's IFL game, which came down to the last second second play. So all these leagues, you got to give them a chance because they're super fun to watch. Even though it's not really like watching outdoor football at all. It's such a faster game. It's such a shorter field and tons of passing, very few runs. And when they do, they're little screen runs or, just to get a yard or two, and then they go for another long bomb. So super fun league to watch.
Yeah, and going back to that game against Albany, I want to talk about Albany's quarterback, Sam Castronova, real quick. Yeah. What were your impressions of him? We're going to forget about the last play of the game. We're going to throw that away. Overall, what are your impressions? Because he was signed with first he was signed with Memphis in the UFL, and when Memphis went away, he eventually down the road signed with Houston. I've seen him play with the Gunslingers here in San Antonio. Got to watch him during his season here, and he was an exciting quarterback. He's an MVP level quarterback in these leagues. But what do you think about his prospects moving up to possibly the UFL?
I think him and Kolka for the Cats, either one of those guys could play in the UFL, if you ask me, or the CFL. Honestly, the CFL's passing game might match up better with them because they're so used to wide open passing that it might actually behoove them to try the CFL too. But I think, frankly, the way that the Gamblers QB room did this past year was so inconsistent that I think they should have given Castronova a chance. Yeah, like Kellywood said, they should have given him more than just practice reps. They should have given him some actual playing time.
I don't think we can find one thing that was consistent of the Houston Gamblers.
Other than injury and not making the best decision. But we're not going to go into the UFL right now. We're going to keep it about the indoor leagues because we could all easily go off on a rant here about the UFL. But and you brought up Tyler Kolka's name. He played in the X League, which is in Japan, before jumping back and forth into these leagues. So he's been around. He's another guy that we're going to keep an eye on. We're going to keep an eye on all these players and try to bring you up to date. So when they sign in the UFL, you already know who they are. But yeah, these leagues are always interesting to watch. It's exciting. It's like Roy said. It's kind of like fast break basketball on a football field. It's very high energy, high speed. It's very exciting. And if you can get lower and get on those dasher boards, it's really in your face and exciting football. But it was an exciting season. We had the Rattlers. Some of these teams are jumping around, and we'll keep track of that as well. So we have some teams that are moving back and forth, different leagues, and there's some rumors. We don't want to spread too much rumors. We want to wait till we get confirmation on some of these teams jumping. But we'll have all that as soon as it comes up. But I just want to shout out to Shady Sports Network and letting us use that graphic. If you guys are ready to move on to the Arena League champions, the St. Joseph Goats, who won a couple of weeks ago. It's been a little while back, but I just thought I would honor them and talk about them real quickly. Anybody have any comments on the Goats?
No, other than that's the Kelsey brothers are part owners of that team. That's all I really know about that team. But I know in the area, Kansas City area, they're kind of big back there for the arena fans. So pretty cool.
It'd be exciting to see if they can build off of that, because just the Kelsey brothers' name should bring attention to not just the league, but to the team in general. And it's exciting to see these other entities, these other players, and other people with financial means get involved in these leagues to help them prosper and grow. All right, but if you're ready, we're going to move on. Like I said, we've been moving on really quickly because we want to get on to the UFL news, but we're going to cover the IFL, and we're going to mention the Arizona Rattlers that we already did, and their quarterback. There's a couple of really good quarterbacks. One was a rookie, and I can't remember his name right now. Delarant, I believe. But some really good quarterbacks that have the potential to move up into possibly the UFL, maybe even the CFL. Guys, we talked briefly about the game, but what are your thoughts on the Arizona Green Bay game and your MVP?
I think it's kind of fitting that Miller got the championship this year because he was on the losing side of it last year. So it was kind of cool to see him come back with a different team, with the opposite team, basically. Last year he was on the Blizzard and they lost by 1. This year he was able to pull ahead with the Rattlers and win it all. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, and for me, the Rattlers are kind of like OG Arena League. And I heard somebody mention this once, but Danny White, former Dallas quarterback, was the coach of the Rattlers in their first incarnation. So I was kind of nostalgic and pulling for the Rattlers of there to get that win. And it's exciting for the fan base. And it's good that an established team like that wins in the IFL. IFL is continuing to grow, and they've announced 4 new expansion teams. We haven't gotten confirmation on where one of them is playing yet, but we're still looking on that. We're going to move on to here we go. There's the announcement on your screen. As you can see, it's going to be Arkansas, the Diamonds, Athens, Savannah. Savannah is currently having a contest for letting fans choose their name, and I will post that on the Alternative Football Twitter. I'll share that out so you guys can participate in that. I wish John was here because he's in that area a little bit and he could expand on that a little bit. But with the last sentence, with Texas, the Austin, Texas draft became the Texas draft. And there was a rumor that they were going to be playing in the Cedar Park Center, HB Center at Cedar Park. I believe it was the owner for the ATX Bulls went on another podcast and said, nope, nobody's playing there. We're looking for the Moody Center. And that ATX draft team is not playing in the Cedar Park Center. So they may be a traveling team or a team with multiple choices. Guys, what are your thoughts on getting into this market, but having a travel team in the IFL in this day and age? Anybody can take that one.
I think it works. I mean, if you look at the original UFL from years ago, they would have teams situated in certain areas and they would float. New York, they played at Yankee Stadium where the Mets play, and in Connecticut. So I think it's a great idea for them first year to get their feet on the ground, to get the word out of that team. I think it's great for them to go different places.
With the uncertainty, though, of not having a set arena, I was kind of surprised when I initially heard the announcement that the draft was coming. And they announced it was going to be Cedar Park. I said, well, that's a perfect fit. It's a great venue. It's a great location for what this team is doing. They do have the Moody Center in downtown Austin, but that's a brand new facility that's run by the University of Texas for their men's and also women's sports. And they have a lot of concerts there. It's a brand new venue. And as you know, to rent these venues is very expensive. And of course, the newer it is, the bigger it is, the more expensive it's going to be. So when the Bulls came out and said nobody's paying in Cedar Park, there's not too many more options where the draft could play. And I haven't heard anything from them. I've contacted them and I'm still waiting to hear back. And as soon as we know something, being that I live in the Austin market, I'll definitely let you guys know. But it was a bit concerning to me because I actually have looked at the process for what it takes to get into the IFL. I had a follower of mine a couple of years back. He was interested in me helping him get an IFL team because he had the team name, he had the colors, and he had a place where he wanted them to play. But beyond that, he had nothing. And so I was able to go with him through the application process and know the criteria. And when I laid it out to him, you're going to need this, this, and this to even have a franchise, he was immediately like, no, that my eyes were bigger than my stomach. So it's a bit surprising that the IFL would go ahead and move in this direction without a home team. And again, there is a rumor that the San Antonio Gunslingers will be leaving the IFL. It's not confirmed, and as soon as I have something on that, I'll let you know as well. But it's good to see the IFL grow and adding these teams and being in markets that don't have professional football and trying to be competitive. It's exciting and it looks good and it bodes well for the IFL. Guys, any thoughts on that?
No, but I do want to mention that John said that he is going to be going to the Athens live when they announce the team name on I think he said the 28th. So by the time we do our next show, he should have that firsthand information for us.
Awesome. Yeah. And he's been, I just want to say again, the work that John has done for us in these last few months covering the Euro Leagues and now he's getting involved with the IFL has been tremendous. And I want to thank him very much for that. He's gearing up for his season. He's getting ready for the fall and going back to school and things like that. So whenever he can come jump on, we'll welcome him back. But I just wanted to thank him for that, first of all. All right. If we're ready to move on, guys.
Yep.
We are moving through this pretty quickly. I think we're doing a great job. But I wanted to talk about, again, how Austin is being mentioned by multiple leagues about their franchises. And we talked about the IFL with the Texas draft not having a home. In the AF1, the Austin, Texas Bulls, they're looking for a home as well. And possibly the UFL getting into Q2. There has been a lot of talk outside of Austin. I have not heard a lot of talk in Texas or the South Central Texas area or Texas in general about Austin having a franchise. Guys, what are your thoughts on any one of these leagues getting into the Austin market?
I think it's something that makes sense to a lot of people. Like, I know everybody questioned why Houston didn't move in the UFL when Memphis did, and the whole reasoning was because of the overall TV market and all that. I think that you have a lot more people in these leagues realizing that Austin is a big market. It might not be as big as Houston, but it still is bigger than a lot of huge markets like, let's say, Boise and Idaho. And so it's like you really don't have that many teams in Austin, and Texas is such a big state that even if you have, a team in Dallas, a team in Houston, a team in San Antonio, you're still talking like 3+ hours. And once you hit above a 3-hour drive, that's not really within day driving distance. And so, Austin is one of those that really could be a potential market that's some untapped potential.
Yeah, I agree. It seems smart to me, too, to capital. They have one of the biggest college football followings out there, period. So if you can grab a small percentage of that group, why not? So.
What also helps, too, is with the UFL Central being in Arlington, by flying to Austin, that will also help lower some costs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Being in the Austin market, Dallas is only like a 3.5-hour drive or so. And in Texas, we're used to driving that far to go see events. 3.5, 4 hours, not a big deal. So it'll be interesting. But it's also of note that the UFL had Dallas or Arlington as their TV market. And living right down the road in San Antonio, the Brahmas were not even in the Austin market. So I don't know what exposure there is of the UFL in Austin, but I plan on looking into it and giving you guys some good information. The little graphic that you see on the left there is from Luke Miller, formerly of State of the Stallions. I don't know if he's with them anymore, but it just shows some of the growth of the indoor leagues and what we could possibly expect out of them. Guys, any names that jump out to you or do you want to talk about on this list?
Hold on, I have to see it a little better.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got in the IFL Athens, of course, the Texas Draft, Savannah, Arkansas Diamonds. In the AF1, it's the Austin Bulls. Was that AF1? Okay. In the NAL, the Dallas Apex and the Wheeling Miners, I believe, are back. Are they returning back to the NAL where they were in the NAL last season?
No, they were in the AAL last season, but now before that though they were NAL, so they're kind of going back and forth between the two. So they're back in the NAL again.
I think the Crusaders is a great name. That goes hard.
Yeah, definitely.
So I do know for a fact that I'm close to arena in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and the hockey team has left to Canada. So there's 6 proposals floating around for the arena, and it's no name was announced, but arena football team did put in a proposal to use that arena.
And it was from the Arena League, or is it an unknown Arena League?
No, it's not announced what the league was.
Okay.
But it is confirmed by all the news outlets that there's 6 proposals on that arena.
That would be a great market up there, and definitely keep your eyes on that and let us know anything that goes on with that. We've got panelists from all over the country, so we can bring you some of this stuff locally and get you a little bit more insight for those you're watching outside of these different markets. But Austin, it has potential. That Q2 stadium is about 20,000 plus, and they regularly fill it. I looked at going to a game. I hope the UFL doesn't take their pricing strategy, because the cheapest ticket I could find was a general admission end zone ticket for $36 pre-tax, pre-fees. The stands, even the upper deck along the sidelines, were in the triple digits, even in the higher sections of the Q2 stadium. And I hope the UFL doesn't take their marketing approach, their ticket pricing approach, if they do come to Austin. But I'll definitely be keeping an eye on that. I'm going to mention this comment here about the Austin Wranglers. The Austin Wranglers is a former Arena League team, I believe, and the UFL does not have the trademark on the Wranglers. Our trademark guy is Rick. Rick, have you heard anything about the trademarks for the UFL recently? Anything new coming out?
And I check almost daily. Nothing's populated since May.
All right, and if anybody would know, it'd be Rick. He gets all our information for us. But we're going to move on a little bit to Azam Fox. Azam's got a new video out highlighting the UFL players that scored NFL touchdowns in NFL preseason games. Azam and Royce, take it away.
Yeah, I guess, Zom, if you want to start and kind of go through the guys that have been scoring, then I can kind of wrap up with all the recent player movement and how many guys are on each team and stuff like that. Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing a lot of these guys that have been sticking around. We're seeing a lot of new players. I mean, it's like we were talking about earlier where you're seeing a lot more highlights and all that. I mean, you still got guys from dating back to like the 2022 USFL when this era really started. You know, guys like Mitch Fraboni that are still the long snappers for certain teams like the Broncos and then the Browns for some other ones. I mean, in terms of touchdowns, I mean, in this game that I watched, Ian Wheeler ended up scoring a touchdown against the Panthers. He had a few other ones. I mean, Akeem Butler got a couple receptions in his game. Cam Gill had a sack in this game, and I know I tweeted about it, but since I was watching the Panthers broadcast, the actual Panthers broadcast of the game even showed images and stuff of his time with the Kings. I would honestly, at this point, be shocked if he does not make the final 53-man roster. He was playing really early in that game, like right when starters were taken out, snap of the fingers, he was in the game, made a big impact. So that's definitely a solid one. I know the Saints, especially last year with like Kevin Austin Jr., got some action. He has continued to get some decent action. So was Moreno Cropper in that game. So wouldn't be super stunned if the Saints end up keeping one receiver on the roster. I mean, granted, we see even more than like 3 new UFL players stick on a roster. That's like the best we've seen in this era. And I think there is a real shot of that this year from what I've been seeing in preseason stuff. Then in terms of just action, like, you know, Hunter Deckers got in some action as well, played a decent amount. So, you know, we hate saying it, but that's one of those guys that is definitely not making the final roster. He is a preseason body, but it's still great to see him get that time. And as I know I've mentioned in my videos in the past, even guys just being in the preseason for a few weeks is still a huge win for them. You're getting a ton of extra cash. You're getting some extra time in the NFL as well. It's like the Steelers. The Steelers were playing a kicker that wasn't Chris Boswell. That kicker has 0 shot to make the roster. That dude could make 6 60-yard field goals, and they're cutting him as soon as they can. So the Steelers are giving him time to get film out there for other teams. And so even if you're not going to make the team that you're on, you can get film to go somewhere else, which you've seen in the past. I mean, it's been really solid. Seen a decent amount of guys getting those touchdowns, and we got a lot of players that actually played really well. I mean, Austin Reed did get a touchdown. It was like the end of the game. It was like a little 1-yard rush, which good old, you know, just like did in the UFL, the 1-yard passing touchdowns, except he ran it. As Callywood just brought up, Tanner Brown, he's actually in a kicker battle, and from week 1, Tanner Brown got the decisive edge. Charlie Smythe ended up missing a 52-yard field goal really badly, whereas Tanner Brown made a 49-yarder and was perfect. So there's a shot we might get to our 5th UFL kicker in the league, which would be great. So, I mean, it's overall been pretty solid. I mean, when I was making this video, this was the most aggravating of these videos I've ever had to make because I literally had to do images for basically all but I think 1 game because that's how much impact the players had. And that's not even talking about the guys that do not show up in the stat sheet, like the aforementioned long snappers, the offensive linemen, the tackles that only come in for a few plays and all that. Because, I mean, even this preseason, I think it's roughly like 12 offensive linemen are playing from the various previous leagues, like, you know, Ricky Lee and all that. So it's just been a lot, man. It's been great.
Yeah, I like to see even just them getting some time. Like there was Patrick Jenkins, I think, got picked up by the Jets. Then they waived him, but somebody had seen enough that then he got picked up by, I think it was the Browns. Yeah, the Browns picked him up like the day after he got let go. So they're getting some actual time on NFL camps, and that makes a difference to other NFL teams. So it's kind of cool to just see that happening.
And one name I wanted to bring up, Terrence Cropper. Now he's hyphenated, Terrence Cropper Moreno, who starred for the Gamblers this year, had that punt return in week 1, I believe it was. He was formerly, I know he had been on the Saints roster, but prior to that, he was on the Cowboys roster because I was actually rooting for him last year, and he got to the final wide receiver spot, but was released when the Cowboys acquired George Pickens. So these guys are right there on the edge, and it's good to get for them, like you said, to get film. And the NFL's a long season. There's always injuries, so these guys are getting film. So hey, we brought you into camp. Now we need you. You already know the system. Let's go. So it's an opportunity not just for right now and making the opening day roster, but it's for practice squad and injury replacement down the road. But guys, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I know I mentioned that in my last video with Adrian Martinez. Even if he loses the QB threat battle to Curtis Rourke, I believe it is, it's not the end of the world because then let's just say, knock on wood, Brock Purdy goes down or somebody gets hurt while practicing. He's going to be the guy that most likely gets signed. I mean, especially at quarterback, we see so many of these guys that we think are out of the league just randomly appear on the team because they either have a connection with a coach, have some good film on them, or just something. I know with my guy from Cincy, Desmond Ridder, when he got signed by the Packers late last year because they were playing a team like the Vikings, and it was just for that reason. So, there's always a shot some of those guys end up making it somewhere.
And the cool thing is, guys like Moreno Cropper, who also is a good return specialist, I mean, when they're well-rounded like that, they have a much higher chance of making a squad, or at least a practice squad where they can be called up during the year kind of thing. So, yeah, I think guys like that and guys like Gill, who are just showing how good he is, I think they're going to be able to really.
Yeah, Jacob Saylor.
Yeah, right. The Sailors is great. I think we'll see more this year land and stick than we have so far. So, well, cool.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Go ahead, guys.
Yeah. Do you want to go through some of the cards of guys that we've been seeing move up to the? Well, actually, take this one, Mike. Actually, whoever wants to take this.
I'll take that if Rick doesn't want to, because you knew he had to sneak it in there. He's a Baltimore Ravens fan. And AR-15 now, not AR-16, is in the QB room in Baltimore. Guys, what do you think about this signing? Do you think he has a chance to get that third quarterback spot or get put on the practice squad? What are your thoughts?
So I actually took this from the Ravens page. And the Ravens are pushing this story very high. You don't see that much coming from preseason with other players. So that's what this is Ravens social. So I feel good for this. The hard part is he's competing with a UConn quarterback who honestly could have been in the Heisman running if he was playing bigger schools with the stats he was putting up. So I think this is big. He also has experience with the offensive coordinator. He was with the Bears last season. So I got a feeling he's going to be practice squad.
Yeah, and if not, I think it's just good for him to, if he comes back to the UFL next season, if he doesn't make a practice squad, I think it'll be good for him to get that experience again and show a little bit more. He just needs more practice, really, and better decision-making, of course. Like he did, actually, that run he did for the Ravens to get the TD was actually a smart decision on his part. Sometimes he just needs to not throw the bomb and just use his legs, and he's better when he makes those smarter decisions. So we've seen it go the other way. But
Definitely.
reps for the guys. Go ahead.
One thing I wanted to point out, in previous years, the UFL was trying to get some of these players to come to their league. And they're like, well, I made practice squad last year. I made a little money so I can take time off, train, and keep ready in case I get called back to a practice squad. Now some of these guys are seeing the benefit of getting film and getting almost an automatic invite now because they're ready to go into these camps. So I think they're starting to see the benefit, and we may see more of an influx of some of these practice squad players being in the UFL next year. So watching these preseason games, we can kind of get a jump start on next year's. UFL season, because the NFL is just the UFL's off season. I'm sorry. That's just how I feel about it.
Yeah, I mean, I know that's part of the reason why I like the UFL schedule where it is, because if you have that XFL schedule, in a way it hurts the players because then they're back to not being in necessary game shape because you got like that 1 month break before training camp starts. Whereas once the UFL season ends, especially if you made the playoffs, like bam, you're at training camp and you're already at game shape. That could honestly help you get a roster spot over somebody else that might not be in game shape.
Yeah.
And also think about this. This could end up being a trade where we get rid of Austin Reed and we bring in Diego Pavia.
I'd take that trade.
Maybe. Well, here's the big question. Would you rather have those two guys or would you rather have this guy, Mr. 9?
He's better than Max Bosmer, man. So, but yeah, I'd take Kyler Murray over all of them, frankly. I'm very nervous about my Vikings this year, but I think their defense is going to be everything. As long as Kyler can just toss it up to Justin Jefferson, not J.J. McCarthy, then we're going to be good. But that's the NFL. Let's move back to the UFL and talk some of that. So this is a little graphic I put together for how many players have gone to each team. And if you're a fan of a team that's not listed here, I'm sorry, you don't have any UFL players on your team. But Detroit, I think I might have counted that wrong. I think they're actually tied with Arizona with 5 players on their team. Carolina and Tennessee and Dallas each have 4. And then you've got a slew of teams with 3, a bunch of them with 2, and then 6 teams with 1. So a lot of teams. This is a big chunk of teams that are represented here in the NFL that have UFL people on their team right now. Like we talked about, maybe 5 or 6 will actually stick. Hopefully more. We're all hoping that more of them do. But in reality, like we saw last year, I think there were 3 or 4 that went into the season on regular season squads, not just practice squads. So
and this is just this year, right?
This is just this off-season signings. So that's pretty good. I mean, we've already landed 64. We have at least 2 more full weeks of NFL preseason to go. So they're going to be continuing, like over the last 2 weeks, there have been 39 guys jump over the last 2 weeks. So that's a ton of people that they're taking a look at. So you got to love it as a UFL fan to see that many guys getting tryouts, and actually not just tryouts. These are all signed, and there's a ton more just getting tryouts too. So pretty cool to see. So
and that's like,
oh, go ahead, Mike.
I was just noting that's like 27. That's more fingers and toes than I have, but it looks like 27, which is a good chunk of the league signing UFL players, and that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's just over the last 2 weeks. And actually, that's added over the last couple of days. That's ballooned up even more. So I'm just going to fly through, and I'm not going to name every one of these guys, but I just made cards of each of these guys that are actually signing with NFL teams. We've had a ton of good guys. Like Jashawn Corbin didn't have the best season last year, but he did the year before. So to see him getting his shot with Dallas is cool. Isaiah Bolden going to the Eagles. The Kings, man, the Kings are going crazy sending people, but the Storm and all these teams are kind of representing. Patrick Jenkins is the guy that started off being signed by the Jets and then moving over to the Browns. Sean Bowman, tight end, is going to the Cardinals. Cardinals have 5 guys, so they've signed quite a few. Amani Bledsoe, he just went to the CFL today to play for the BC Lions. Then you've got Deontay Prince, went to the Bears yesterday from the Kings. Trey Weddig, tackle for the Colts. Trey McKitty, lots of Treys the other day. Tight end for the Commanders now. Or what do you call them, Zom? The Commies? Yeah. Anyway, my Vikings finally landed a guy, Kenny Dyson Jr., which I'm stoked about because he's underrated defensive end from the Gamblers. Gamblers overall, they had so many good pieces on defense that they really should have dominated more than they did on the defensive end. So to see some of their guys getting a chance is pretty cool. Isaiah Bolden, I think, Eagles guy. And then I think there were several more, but
there's tons more.
Yeah, there's probably a ton more. But you can see how many Kings, like Corey Mayfield Jr., Bryce Hall, basically every cornerback for the Kings except for Cam Dantzler right now have been signed into the NFL. So I'm hoping Cam gets his shot too.
Did I see Rodgers of the Kings go to the Dolphins today?
He tried out with them. He did not sign with them yet. Yeah.
And again, just a reminder for everybody watching, you can get a camp invite to come and work out, and that could lead to a signing. And that is an opportunity to make the team. It's not come in, you've made the team. So we're seeing lots of these signings and opportunities, which is these signings has been, I want to say, almost twofold what it was last year. Maybe not the signings, but the invites. A lot of players getting their opportunity more so than they ever have, in my opinion.
Tryouts are definitely more. There have been just tons of activity there, and I track it every day, so I could see a lot of times a guy will get tried out for 3 or 4 teams, and then he'll actually sign with one. So the more tryouts they get, the more other teams are recognizing the value. So it's kind of cool. Yeah, Callywood, good point. CFL Rough Riders, and then you got a sack for them. Harrison Frost. Yeah, and I think we talked about on the last show that we've got several guys up in the CFL now, which is really cool to see. And I actually think the UFL translates really well to the CFL game too. All right.
Definitely, and lots of exciting signings. But I want to mention these cards. It's awesome to see them. I love seeing these cards because they're not AI. Royce actually made them, and they look great, Royce. I just always enjoy seeing these and posting them on social media.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. They're fun to make.
Definitely, guys. If you want more about the UFL to NFL or UFL to CFL signings, and you like these digital cards, follow Royce at Viking Wax Press, both on Facebook and Twitter. And he's got a YouTube channel where he does a little bit more than just talk about football. He talks about helmet rankings, uniforms, logo designs, things of that nature. But are we ready to get on to the UFL part of this, guys?
Yes.
The biggest things. I want to start out by talking about St. Louis. In one of Zomslid's video, he mentioned that Ricky Prohl has kind of not cleaned house, but he's kind of making arrangements to get things the way things he wanted to go. As if you saw on the sidelines last year, his communication with AJ Smith wasn't all that great. Zom, did you want to talk about that? Because I definitely want to interject on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll get started with the more negative of the two, OC and DC, because in terms of just those, Corey Chamberlain, losing him was a huge blow for them because again, we love the UFL and how like half the team media that covers them are behind paywalls, so right there to paywall articles. But when it comes to that, some of you might not have heard, but Corey Chamberlain did not get fired. He chose to not come back. I know Callywood said this, I've said it, I think all of us agree. He is more than qualified to be a head coach in this league. He should have become the Stallions head coach. The idea they did AJ instead is one of the most mind-numbing decisions they did last year. It sucks that he's not back. Then obviously, like Callywood just mentioned, really sucked hearing about Frank Gantz Jr. passing away. That just literally came out of left field and was terrible.
Yeah.
When it comes to AJ Smith, I'm going to start out being positive. He's not Tyler Siskey. So right there, 2 thumbs up. He's not the worst OC in the league. Granted, if Tyler Siskey wasn't in the league, he probably is. I know I just mentioned this in the newest 2nd and 6 episode, but I want to mention this again. When the leagues merged, it felt like the two fan bases went to their guy. You had the Jaron Horton fan club in the USFL, and then you had the AJ Smith fan club in the XFL. And what's since happened is pretty much everybody has realized the run and shoot AJ Smith offense doesn't work. It didn't work for the Roughnecks. When they got beat, they got bodied by the Renegades, and that was because their offense couldn't do anything. Wade Phillips' defense did enough to beat that Renegades team, but the offense didn't do anything. I mean, like Silvers and McDonald, did nothing in that game. And then, as Mike G just pointed out with the Brahmas, in that game, yes, the AJ Smith offense was able to get a win over the Battlehawks, but not really, because that was more so the Battlehawks. If you remember that game, the offense for San Antonio really didn't do that much. They just did enough. And it was the St. Louis offense not doing anything that screwed them over because the defense was so good. And then when they got to the championship game, the Stallions obliterated them. It wasn't even a contest. Even if you include the time they went for it in fourth down to where they should have kicked a field goal, 3 points versus 0 isn't a big difference. They did nothing. They got blanked in the championship game. And then if we get rid of the whole 2025 debacle with that mess of a 25 Brahmas team where the whole staff was basically fighting with each other, you go to this season with the Battlehawks, and literally week 1, we saw the biggest issue was once they got within the 5-yard line, the offense just stopped working. They didn't have right plays, and it never did the rest of the season. And then once again in the playoffs, yes, this was the first time where the defense could get some blame, but Chamberlain's unit wasn't terrible against the Kings. It just wasn't perfect. Whereas the A.J. Smith offense, once again, didn't really do a lot. It's like, he has worked with arguably the 2 best defensive minds the UFL, US1XL have seen in Wade Phillips and Corey Chamberlain. And he has 1 playoff win, which was primarily because of his defense, and he has 3 losses where 2 of them the offense did nothing. And I think that we've kind of gotten to the point where, yes, he's a young guy, but he's not ready to be an OC. And the fact that he now has all those years of experience at OC is kind of crazy, considering that he really doesn't have the results. I get you can make an argument he's never had the best cute quarterbacks. I mean, when Brandon Silvers is probably the best quarterback you had, or an injured Luis Perez, I do get that argument. But again, there's a lot of OCs where if you told him you got to work with Wade Phillips or Corey Chamberlain, they're winning championships. So
yeah,
I don't have any issue that he's gone. I personally don't. I hate that Chamberlain's gone, and the Frank Ganson news was terrible. But personally, I'm kind of okay AJ Smith's gone.
So, hey, I have a question for you. You mentioned Horton, and I would love to see him with the Battlehawks. And I look at what he did with the Showboats to take 11 of those guys that were on the Kings championship game this year were on the Showboats the year before defensively. So what Horton did was build those guys up, and I think he'd be a perfect slide over fit for the Battlehawks if they're wise. That's my pick. What do you guys think?
Hey, you lost Corey Chamberlain. I mean, that's not that bad a fall. That's not that bad. You take that.
I would definitely have Horton anytime if I had a team. But it kind of goes back to AJ. A lot of his jobs and connections were through people when you build a staff, you hire people who know the offense that you're familiar with. He started as a wide receiver coach, then moved up to quarterback coach and offensive coordinator. And people have their preferences when they're building a staff. So I would hopefully like to see Horton, if he can reestablish those connections and get back into the NFL, because he's definitely an outstanding defensive coordinator. But not to harp too much on this AJ Smith thing. I got to witness it firsthand here, being a Brahmas fan and covering them. The air raid / run and shoot offense, notorious for bogging down in goal line and short yardage situations. The Brahmas did carry some tight ends, but they were mostly pass receiving tight ends, not run blocking tight ends. You don't have a fullback or a second back in the backfield a lot of times. So you're giving the defense, you're giving them what you're going to do, and they can plan out and strategize against you. And that led to a lot of our we were third and long quite a bit when we were unable to convert on short yardage and goal line, like Tom was talking about. You've got to have more depth. AJ was given, I believe, and I don't know this, he's followed through with it, a special quarterback job with the University of Colorado with Deion Sanders. So again, it's Texas, it's knowing people. I didn't see him leaving St. Louis for just that job. I think he was going to try to do both, but Ricky Prohl went ahead and made the decision for him. And I think, for the sake of harmony and getting along, Ricky Prohl will find somebody and bring them in. But it's interesting news out of St. Louis. They're going to have to replace the coordinators, offense, defenses, and then the loss of Frank Gans. And that was a terrible shock to that fan base, guys. Just overall thoughts on that before we move on?
I know he's up there in age, but if Ricky wants to run the greatest show on turf offense, also known as the Mike Martz offense, again, I know he's up there, so I don't know if he wants to, but Mike Martz coached in the AAF, so why not?
I think Mike Martz might be around the Wade Phillips age, so why not? If we can make a concession for Wade, we can certainly make one for who would be considered a legend in St. Louis for Mike Martz and the greatest show on turf.
You know what else could work, honestly? I think this would be a scenario where a co-OC of guys that aren't the most experienced actually could work. Like, this is just completely offhand. I genuinely don't know exactly how much coaching experience they have and all that. But, like, Azir Akeem maybe, or, like, somebody else that was part of that greatest show on turf. I mean, like, if you put 3 guys together, Ricky and then, like, a dual OC, versus, as Callywood brought up, just Captain Munnerlyn, I think it could work if you have, like, a trio of offensive guys, maybe like an Orlando Pace or something. It might be an out there idea, but it could work, and it would be better than just having one guy at OC that's, doesn't have experience coaching.
They did that for a minute because if you remember, Perez was running the running game for St. Louis, and A.J. Smith was calling the pass game. And to me, that, again, just highlights the lack of a run game in his offense. He needs to add that to his offense if he wants to continue to grow and prosper. But that's kind of the situation they had last year, and they could definitely do something with it this year. This is a developmental league, not just for players, but for coaching staff to get experience. So that would be an interesting scenario there.
All right, guys. I want to bring up one more point about coordinators because, spoiler, I have a video out coming this week about which coordinators I think should be fired or which one should be brought back. When you talk about growing as a coordinator, I don't know if everybody realizes this because he's kind of flown on the radar. Do you guys happen to know off the top of your head who the single longest tenured coordinator is in the UFL right now?
Ooh, good question.
There's one guy that has that by a wide margin, believe it or not.
Oh, is it Blake for the Defenders?
Nope.
No?
Because he's only been coordinator a year and a half.
That's right.
There's one guy that's been it for 4 straight years on the same team. Eric Price and the Gamblers has been their OC since the first year of Curtis Johnson. And that offense, I know there's been all the issues with quarterbacks, but that offense has never really been good. Forgot about Fred Keiss. You're right, Calvin. I did forget about him. But, well, even then, technically, no, they're tied because 2023. But, yeah, Eric Price has been the OC since 23. I cannot believe he's still the OC there, considering how that offense has never really been good, outside of Mark Thompson having that one great year.
Yeah, to have guys like Thompson and Hall on that team and never go anywhere with them is just proof that he should not last that long. But Keiss, on the other hand, he's awesome, and he deserves to be there for as long as he wants.
That's crazy. Eric Price is tied with Fred Keiss. I did forget about Keiss in my video about how long he's been tenured, but yeah, Eric Price has been there 4 years, which is crazy.
Yeah, wild.
All right, sorry about that. I was looking at the comments and it kicked me out. But if you guys are ready to move on, we're going to talk about Michael Pohl and his Twitter. So I asked you in the tweet, who's worse at social media and Twitter? Is it Jaden Daniels and whoever's running his social media with their NIL deals, or is it Michael Pohl just saying whatever comes to his mind? What are your thoughts?
I will say I think there is something to be said about the whole Jaden Daniels thing because let's call it like it is, right? This panel has a lot of members, and we only have 4 guys here today. So, we were honoring Jaden Daniels by not having a 5th member here today, right? And, think about this. See, another thing that not everybody realizes, right? Scoring 5 points in a game obviously doesn't happen, but 15 does, 25, 35. Of all the preseason games, not a single one had a 5 in any quarter or at the end of the game. So even the league is honoring Jaden Daniels and not having a 5 anywhere. And, I mean, you got to love it, man. This is quickly going up there as one of the best memes in football we have seen in a while.
Yep.
I mean, it's bad. It's bad.
But is it worse than Michael Pohle, axing Birmingham and Houston, then kind of apologizing to DC and St. Louis And in that, he talks about he moved resources to do that. And I want to talk about very briefly some of those resources that he moved instead of using them to maximize the marketing. We got a total rebrand of every single team. We got a complete rebrand as far as uniforms. We got a complete rebrand of the Houston Gamblers. How many millions of dollars did he divert from marketing for this personal project where he just decided he wanted to do that? And how do you guys feel about that?
It's typical Rapoli in a negative way, where the best response he had is the one he didn't put on Twitter. The quote he had in the Sports Business Journal article about Houston, I thought was the best overall thing he said the entire last month, where he basically said that if you were to write a book on how not to run a market in Houston, the UFL did that. Because I know I've mentioned a ton in attendance videos. It's like that double-edged sword in a sense, where on one hand, the numbers were so bad that it's like, come on, Houston, you got to do better. But on the other hand, you literally played in a different stadium for 4 straight years. I mean, that's like a challenge to do that. I mean, they played TDECU, Rice, back to TDECU, then Shell Energy Stadium. When they first did the merger, if you were forced to keep a 4th team from the USFL, you probably should have kept a 4th team from the USFL instead of keeping the roster but then rebranding them. Because in this effed up way, I don't think any of us still even know what the UFL considers the Gamblers' history at this point, because they've seemingly changed it to the Roughnecks in 23, to the Gamblers in 22, 23, to where even if you stuck by them the whole time, you don't even know what they consider them, even though they were the Gamblers. It was just so bad that entire way, and they butchered it. And I did like that he took ownership for something that, admittedly, that wasn't his fault. Like, the rebrand may have been a mistake, or let me rephrase that. The rebrand might have been a mistake, but that wasn't his fault, and he took accountability for it, which is a good thing as an owner. Everything else, though, man, no. The Birmingham stuff about, like, the random stadium stuff in this sort of weird way where he made it seem like he was going to build a stadium, it's like, dude, lay off the social media there.
You know, if he's got money to burn, you could just hire someone to handle it, because not even just the UFL, the stuff he even posts about horse racing. I mean, hire an assistant, use ChatGPT, something. I mean, this guy's an educated man. Sometimes it's
the horse racing stuff, that's his opinion. That's his personal thing. There are not 10,000 people every week lining up to see your one horse race. You know, you've got to pay attention to the fans and what they do. And I think by him taking that part of revenue, part of the marketing budget, and using it, and then calling it quits in Birmingham and Houston, is kind of he says more when he says less. You know, it's there's devil in the details, and to me, it's just why bother doing that to Houston? Let them get their feet under them. And again, it wasn't all his fault. During the merger, the front office for the Houston Roughnecks was let go, and the Houston Gamblers didn't have much to kind of supplement them. And barely this year, I was seeing some familiar names show up in the Gambler social media as ticket reps, and that was just about 2 or 3 weeks before they were axed, and now they're gone. I know that the Houston fan base is kind of orbiting and reforming around the Houston Falcons, and I believe they're going to be in the AIF or the AAF. I'm not sure, but we'll keep you up to date on that. They've kind of rebounded, and they're looking for a football team to follow, and hopefully they'll have one, because they deserve so much better.
Here's my thing on Rapoli. I can forgive his idiot tweets because I believe that he will improve the league going forward long term. Long-term vision, I align with. Short-term tweets, idiot. But at the same time, who cares about that little stuff? I mean, yeah, he's going to piss off the Birmingham people. He's going to piss off the Houston people. He's already burned those bridges anyway. I mean, as a Memphis fan and as a New Orleans fan, I hate that I lost my teams, but I get it. You don't show up for your games, you don't get to keep a team. That's kind of the way it goes, and any business person is going to understand that. So if you have his long-term vision for the league, I stand behind it, because he has improved the league already in the year plus he's been here, especially when you compared him to The Rock, who did zero. You know what I mean? So at least he is involved, frankly. Just to see somebody involved and who cares. I mean, he cares, sometimes not the smartest ways, but he cares. You can tell that he cares.
Hey, remember, The Rock cared about the XFL. He used it to market his Tiramana tequila and his player, or my bad, his D. Johnson 54 jerseys.
Yeah.
You know,
I will say I had a Terramana tequila sunrise at the Alamo Dome, and it came in an IV bag, but it was really, really good. It was worth it. But yeah, with marketing, Rapoli needs to understand when you have a team stop playing, because I'm trying to word this carefully. There are different words that you can use. They have folded, they have relocated, they have disbanded. They are, there's different words, and he doesn't bother to explain any of that. It's just like, they're gone. Oh, they might come back if they build me another stadium. I cannot believe the set of cojones this dude had to ask that city in that area, why don't you spend another $150 million and build me a smaller stadium while you're still paying off for that other stadium? I can't even fathom having the nerve to say, hey, if you build me a new stadium, I might go back there. Guys, what are your thoughts on that?
Crazy, especially with how much they were helping the league out. It's just, oh my God. It's like, it's a big stadium, but at the end of the day, it wasn't the Alamo Dome. It wasn't Ford Field. It wasn't like a behemoth. It's just the whole UFL brass. I've always had issues with their things, like the whole EMU thing. We don't want to play in the gray turf, and how they might not go to Albertson, not because it's a 35,000 seat, but because the blue turf apparently is going to literally kill them if they play it on there. Like, this was, I couldn't believe it. I could not believe what he said. You got to build a new stadium. Like, dude, why? That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Now, that EMU comment is kind of an example of what I'm talking about. He makes these offhanded comments that we don't know if they're official lines of thinking. A month before the season started, when he was going to the fan rallies, he said offhandedly on video, I'll be in Texas next week. Never came to Texas as far as going to a Houston game or a Renegades game. He might have been in the UFL headquarters, but he never made it out to a game. So he just drops these offhanded comments, and people take them as gospel when it could be him just thinking out loud, or, when you make a plan, it could change by the time it gets to that date. I think he needs to be a little bit more careful and a little bit more detailed with what he's saying, and hiring somebody who could run his socials for him. Maybe not let AI do so much. Guys, are we headed in the right direction with the UFL?
I think part of this isn't necessarily directly what you're saying, but it sort of is. I think part of it is just like, especially with the way our fan base is, the UFL, is it's so based in like rumors and stuff, like dating back to the whole merger, where like you had so many reports come out that it's like, when you hear something from someone in like Rapoli, it's just like you're programmed to think it's true. I mean, we're not going to specify what rumor just came out today, but like, for instance, you had a rumor that just came out today from a source, and you have so many people believing it is the gospel without corroborating stuff, when we've seen in the past that even like the legends of our community that knew stuff got stuff wrong. The whole merger thing, I mean, all of the big guys had stuff that came out that didn't end up happening because of either false information coming out from the official sources or stuff like that. And it's so, I don't think Rapoli is yet to realize it, or he does and he just doesn't care because he gets, media traction, that he can just say something and you're going to have so many people believe it like that. It's just, I think that's part of the issue, honestly.
Yeah, and I remember those days, the merger days. At the Alternative Football Network, we refer to them as the dark days because there were so many things going on, and we were building the network behind the scenes. A lot of that was, I think, those established people may have gotten some wishful thinking, and it came back to a fan. It went to a fan and came back to them, and they just ran with it. And that's where a lot of these rumors got out of hand. And if you know me, I don't like dealing in rumors. I like dealing with sources. And if you can give me 2 sources on a story, that's even better. I don't like the speculation because it gets put out there as fact. There's a lot of teams being mentioned, a lot of cities being mentioned for these possible relocated franchises and expansion franchises. And right now it's everyone's best guess. But at the panel, we're going to put all our best guesses together because we got a lot of good, smart guys here, and we'll do something with that later. But right now, it's up in the air. It could be Boise, it could be Austin, it could be Connecticut. We don't know where these teams are going, and it's just, to me, that's the most frustrating part. Is it's always left to these rumors to fill the void when there's no news, and some of them will take root, and people will believe them.
The cool thing is about sources, I follow Boogie Roberts, and he tweeted tonight he's going to be a radio guy for the San Jose State,
right?
San Jose, yeah, for their first game. So I'm just stoked that he's got a job. He's such a good broadcaster personality type that he's going to be great in that role. I wish he was behind the camera because he's a great camera presence too. But just wanted to throw a little tie-in to actual sources. Boogie is my actual source for that, so pretty cool to see him with the job because I thought he deserved a football job. So, but I think he's going to be great in the broadcast booth. So, sorry, that was a little segue that was way off track, but we can get back on.
No problem. No problem. Actually, I think let's just open up to any topic that you guys want to talk on, because I think we covered most of our bases and we covered all our news. Hopefully I didn't forget anything. Throwing the floor open, guys. Anybody want to drop some opinions? Not rumors, but opinions. Well, if you want to drop a rumor, you can drop it as a rumor.
Well, to what Callie was talking about the relocation sooner or better, stuff like that. That's the one thing I did say that I thought was a positive from the Birmingham-Houston thing is they at least announced it early. Because last year it was like so late in the year. They're like, oh, by the way, yeah, these 3 teams are gone. And it was so late in the offseason. Whereas now, I mean, it's already been like a month since this stuff came out almost. And compared to last year, we're still like 2 months away from when they came out last year. So that's the one positive I would say. And then, this is wishful thinking. I guess we'll call this wishful thinking, not rumor or source, but wishful thinking. When he said that 2029 might be when the second wave of expansion hit, I really do believe that has to do with Michigan above all else. Because I think that – because this is what – for those of you that are new to the UFL this year, you guys don't know Mike Mitchell because he stepped away this year, but he was the other guy with James Larson that was like the biggest 2 sources. He was the number 1 guy for attendance and TV ratings, and he had the numbers from the USFL attendance that weren't publicly released. Not counting the 3 expansion teams this year. In the UFL, you have had 21 opportunities for teams to improve attendance. That's 2024, 8 next year, and then 5 this year. Only twice did a team improve in attendance, and that was the Panthers both years. And so I think Rapoli does understand that in terms of market, when they didn't get marketing, they were the only team that improved in attendance. So I think he understands that they do need to be brought back. And now we have all the questions about when their stadium is going to be done or not. And so if you preemptively assume you're going to do a 2029 expansion, you can now get away with not being forced to bring them back in 2028 and then say, hey, we're bringing them back in 2029. And do sort of like you did with OKC where you announce it like 2 years ahead. You could instead do that with Michigan as well and then start marketing to what was already like your second or third best market. So that might be wishful thinking, but I do think that the whole announcement of maybe doing expansion, which again he says it maybe in 2029, has almost all to do with the Panthers.
Yeah.
I think real quickly on that. Sorry, guys.
That's okay. I just wanted to tag on to Run 68 Bones' comment about how late is too late to announce the new teams. I think every day that goes by, you're missing ticket sales and marketing chances. The sooner the better. Like every day you need to be considering your losses because every day that passes by, they're missing out. And the sooner they can grab that fan base and start marketing to that fan base and showing replays of whatever team they're going to be getting, those kind of things, and getting those guys out into those communities would be ideal. man, they're really missing that right now, and it could be happening if they. I do believe they probably know the teams. They're probably just waiting for some key piece to drop in, like a contract getting signed that is not, or those kind of things. But at the same time, boy, don't wait until October, please.
I really hope that they're not waiting for both to be done. I hope that like when the first one gets done, they just announce it and they don't do something like that. Because I did like that about OKC. They got that announced early, and that's the best thing you could do. But
yeah,
it's the UFL.
That kind of takes me back to my point. Like when the Panthers ceased to play, they didn't say they're going to be what are some of the words, not on hold, but there's a word for that in the parlance. Hiatus, mothballed, backburnered, but he never said Michigan could come back, even though there is the opportunity there. He just kind of left it as they're not playing right now, and maybe they could come back. He's not opening the door. He's not closing the door, but I think he could have handled that a little bit better in terms of social media, because he could have burned a lot of fans in Michigan. I know he's burned fans in San Antonio and Houston. I'm sure Birmingham is not going to be one of the top markets on the TV anymore. And it's not just moving these franchises out of these cities. It's doing it in a way that gives them some clarity. Where are they going? Is it a temporary thing before we get a new stadium? Is it this team is never coming back? He doesn't give us much communication, or if he doesn't, it's not very specific. It's very open-ended, and I don't like that. Guys, what are your thoughts? We're almost to the end here, guys. Again, we're going to throw it open to anyone on any subject, guys.
I like Kelly Wood's last comment there about the potential bases for these teams. They do have talent on those teams. Coaching is kind of the issue, I would say, but they definitely have talent. And if you look at just the receivers on Birmingham alone, I mean, they're amazing. And you got DTR at QB. If he comes back, they've got the players. They need. I won't go into the coaching situations, but they definitely could, if they announce teams right now, get some of those players out in the fan bases and start building relationships with the communities. That'd be awesome, because they have some serious good talent on those teams.
Man, if I were to hear that I'm getting a new football team and I hear my head coach OC combos AJ McCarron and Tyler Siskey, I don't know if I'm becoming a team fan of that team. Oh my God.
I was waiting for that one.
Hey, hire your podcasting buddy as your OC that, did some coaching 15 years ago. Hey, it'll work.
Yeah, but if DTR came to your high school and said, hey, I'm going to be a QB in a professional league in your city, like, you would probably get on board, and regardless of who this coach is in that situation. But I think that's the kind of thing that can get fan bases excited.
And then it does also bring up the question, I mean, again, like what Callie brought up, where the whole reason you hired these guys, you didn't, respectfully, most of the guys you hired, you didn't hire because they were great coaches. You hired them because they were local big names. So then it begs the question, like he's bringing up, for the sake of argument, let's say you move the Stallions to Boise. You just have A.J. McCarron as a head coach instead of A.J. McCarron, the Alabama legend that's also the head coach. And it's like, I don't know what the benefit of that is. Because, I mean, with both those teams, especially the Stallions, the guy that's the current DC is probably better equipped to be the head coach. Houston, there's an argument, but I don't know. I feel like in the big 2027, I think I would rather give Marvin Sanders a shot at head coach than do the same thing again. But I don't know. It'll be interesting. That's what I'd say. It'll be interesting.
Now, speaking from someone who's in Austin and could potentially get the Gamblers, Kevin Sumlin, who made his bones at Texas A&M, coming to their rival in the University of Texas homes wouldn't be the greatest marketing. If the Houston Gamblers were to end up in Austin, I made a comment that last episode that it was Houston sloppy seconds. I wasn't referring to the team. I was referring to Kevin Sumlin. I think we need a fresh start if the Gamblers are going to be coming to Austin. That cachet, like you were saying, AJ McCarron doesn't have outside of Alabama. And you need to look locally. If you have to pay these guys for doing nothing for a year, that's fine. And I also do want to bring up 168 Bones comment. That's John, one of our panelists, is asking about DTR. And DTR, I don't know, guys. I don't think he'll come back, regardless of whether they're in Alabama or not. I think he's kind of fulfilled his what he wanted to do and get out of the UFL. What are you guys' thoughts on that? And then we'll go back to Charles Rogers here in a second. But what are your thoughts on DTR coming back?
I hope he does, frankly. And I think it's a great league for him. He proved he can win games in this league, even with a terrible coach. So I think if he gets a chance, hopefully a different coach, even if not, they have the talent. If McCarron can somehow grow in his ability and get a better offensive coordinator, I think they could actually make waves and have a good team in spite of the lack of coaching because of DTR's drive, field general mentality, and professionalism, talent. Like, he is skilled. I hope he comes back because I think this is a great league for his level of talent. And frankly, in the NFL, I would love to see him back there. I don't see him getting chances this year. So I kind of worry that he's not getting looks for whatever reason in the NFL. So therefore, I do hope he comes back.
Yeah, I would also like to see him back, especially after watching Matt Corral. I would even just to change at OC would be more than enough. I think that him with a better offensive coordinator, DTR really could put in some work. He had that one really good game against Orlando, and then it's just like, the Siski offense was so easy to figure out that, like, after that first game, defenses knew what to do against him. Like, it got to a point where it was, like, a bit aggravating, where every week I'm like, DTR had another game, statistically wasn't good. It wasn't his fault. He played well. His system sucks. And it's like, that's what I hate seeing, is when a guy is clearly talented, clearly good at that level, but is limited by the anchor that was Tyler Siski. I know I ragged on Harrison Frost a lot last year, but this might be a wild stretch. Especially Royce knows this is bad when I'm comparing him to this guy. OC versus head coach, like position for position, he might be the single worst coach we've seen, even worse than Kirby Wilson, relative to their coordinator coaching position.
That's a low blow,
that was a guy that, when hired, everybody hated the Siski hire. And you got to remember, Orlando put in two guys that combined for very little experience coaching at all, and were both significantly better than Tyler Siski at running an offense. It's pretty bad.
Yeah. Oh, Kirby. Yeah, that first Mullers year was something else. So, yeah, I agree with you, Zom. I think he's right up there in that level of scary hires.
Man, Royce, I hope you don't have any pizza with you.
I'm out. I love Kelly's comment about, are you saying you need him to coach better? Yeah, like that's what McCarron told his offensive lineman. Play better. Coach better. How about that? Yeah.
Chicken salad game will live on spring football lore. Oh, my God, that was the best.
Yeah.
It's like people forget now, because I guess we had, when this era started, like that was correct me if I'm wrong, Royce, that came on before the first game, right? It was like the lead into the first game. So your introduction to spring football in this new era was Kirby Wilson cutting a player because he wanted a pizza.
Not just a player, probably their best talent. Honestly, he probably was their most talented guy on the team. He cut him because he had pizza in the line.
That was
because he asked for pizza. Yeah.
Well, back to a point that was a while ago, but I wanted to bring this up with Houston and Kevin Sumlin. You rebranded the team to the Gamblers. The Brahmas just had an absolute disaster class because basically everybody was fighting with each other. And you had this young guy build the team together to try and do their best. And that young guy just so happened to be the grandson of the OG Gamblers coach. And you decide to not bring him on as the Gamblers head coach.
Yeah.
Peyton Pardee.
What are we doing?
Pardee would have been awesome.
Yep, and he's still tight ends coach in UTEP now.
Yeah.
And then you also had the whole Mike Nolan thing. You know, hopefully they're saving him for a Panthers return, because if the Panthers come back and he's not the head coach, that makes the decision not to bring him back even worse. But because if you bring him back, I can see it. Because then, you know, he's back with the Panthers. That'd be cool to see.
Yeah. I like that idea of having Pardee coach at OKC. That'd be a great fit. That'd be really cool.
I don't know. For me personally, that'd be hard because I'd be pulling for Peyton Pardee. But now that Houston's gone and San Antonio's gone, all I'm left with is Dallas. So by default, I'm a Dallas fan. I'd like to become an OKC fan if Pardee was there. I'd definitely do that. And I still may. But we're going to start to wrap it up, guys. We're going to continue to talk until we go off air. I just want to thank you guys for another great show. Thanks for coming on, and we're going to wrap it up. Rick, take us off anytime you want. We're just going to keep talking. Guys, follow social media. Zom Fox is available on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Viking Wax Press, same thing. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Rick 8-Bit, also Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Follow all these great content creators for more news as it happens. Guys, I just wanted to thank you. We're going to keep talking. And Rick, play us off the air. I'm going to throw on some mood music here, and we're just going to keep talking.